Hello and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday with me, Ryan, aka Mac. This is a weekly show which covers everything from the world of Star Citizen over the past week. Links to everything discussed can be found in the description below, so let's get on with it. This week, the Drake Bucaneer goes on concept sale. We hear about how this will affect the Drake family, plus loads more. If you are still to sign up to the RSI website, please use my referral code as shown on screen or in the description, and you'll receive 5,000 United Earth credits which can be spent in the Voyager Direct store for your ships, your character, or whatever you choose. You don't have to spend anything to sign up. It's only once you pledge that I'll be granted an RP point, which will get me some little rewards in the future. So, as you probably know, the Drake Bucaneer has had its concept sale. It was on Friday that it first came to light. This is to be an agile scrapper. It sort of takes hits without breaking the bank on repairs and maintenance. It provides ample support for the Caterpillar and the Cutlass, but it can also travel to safely cover the Herald. It has the capacity to alter the loadout for close range fire support and long range escort, and it's ready to go toe-to-toe with any fighter. Now this is classed as more of your civilian alternative to the Hornet or the Gladius. It'll also be featured as an NPC aggressor in the Persistent universe and for future single-player campaigns, and it's intended to be an agile, hard-hitting ship that's a joy to fly. Now, it has 2 TR3 primary engines, 18 TR1 manoeuvring thrusters, 2 size 1 power plants, 2 size 1 fixed mounts, 2 size 3 gimbals, 2 size 1 pylons, and 1 size 4 unmanned turret, which is kind of a beast, plus 3 shields. It is $110 with LTI, your hangar model and poster, and you've got until the 6th of June to pick one up. Also, revealed on the 6th of June will be the bonus weapon package, which any backer who purchased the Bucaneer will be granted one. It is a very cool ship. I'm not much of a fighter myself, but I am liking the look of the ship. It looks very, very cool, and we'll hear more on it in the subscribers reverse the verse. It's such a cool little ship. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on it. As I say, you'll get more information later on in the show. Let me know if you've picked one up. So this week's 10 for the developers was Randy Vasquez and Mark Abent. Unfortunately, the majority of the questions, I've only chosen 2. The majority of them were all about bugs and how they quash the bugs and what it's like being a producer compared to being what he was doing before, a designer, I think he was. So I've missed off the majority of them. Do watch it if you are interested in this sort of thing. All I try to stick to is the important stuff about new gameplay aspects, other gameplay aspects, and so on and so forth. So the first question I've chosen is, how much of the company is devoted to getting a release out when a new release is impending? You say it's always a case by case depending on the patch. Each patch, again, depending on the features, require different areas of the team. And then the second question, the last question, is to do with internal development tools and how they've helped improve the game. And you say one tool for ship balance is tuning a ship used to take two or 3 weeks to get done. Now it's down to literally hours. And also DataForge helps clean up the XML. The item port editor really helps too. There's so many tools that they have created for this, just for this game, to streamline production. It is just insane and very clever. But anyway, as I say, do check it out if you are interested in how, like what bugs are the most difficult or whatever. It's entirely up to you. The links are in the description. So this week's Around the Verse, episode 2.33, came from Manchester. We had Sandy Gardner and Zane BN. Zane is a big dude on the UI. He does a lot of the UI for the ships and pretty much everything. He's also working on concepts for the holotable, the new revamped holotable, the Mobiglass, and 3D interfaces. 2.4 will hit the live servers very, very soon. They're still just trying to get a couple of bugs fixed, but it should be coming soon. 2.5 has begun. It's not as big a change as 2.4, but it is still important. So news from around the verse. CIG LA, they are looking at item 2.0 and how it works with the rest of the ships. CIG in Austin, they are working on persistent UEC. Currently we have Alpha UEC, which is a test currency, but the real UEC is in the works. Clothing assets for the pirate base shop. More rugged frontier than Kasaba's clothing line will be coming. They're working on that. Also, Kasaba will get some new clothing as well. The Freelancer ladder is now in game, which is very nice. It's the side entrance to the Freelancer. And they're going to do a lighting pass across the board, which is coming soon. New techniques have been learnt, and they want to include this to bring the lighting up to standard. So Foundry 42 in the UK, we met a new ship balance manager. He tweaks all the ships to get them balanced and fun. As you know, they've redone the control mapping to unify them between the FPS, the EVA, and on foot, but the older mappings are still there if you want to swap back, which I didn't know. So Foundry 42 in Frankfurt, they just did an office tour. If you are interested, do click the links below. So Ship Shape this week was with Matt Sherman, and they're talking specifically about the Bucaneer. He is a tech designer that worked on the Bucaneer, and they want to give a complementary fighter craft to pair well with the Drake family, which is what the Bucaneer is for. The Caterpillar is more of a home-based ship, lots of rooms for growth. The Cutlass is more of a mixed between skirmisher and hauler. It will have its solid place in the world. The Reliant and the Cutlass will hold about the same amount of cargo, but the Cutlass will have more guns. But they still want to adhere to the original blurb from 2012 as a weird sort of fighter hauler. Probably a really useful ship for when you're boarding another ship and you want to transfer the cargo. You can get it into the Cutlass as quick as possible, get that to the Caterpillar and load that Caterpillar up while your Buccaneers fly around defending the space. The Herald is what you would sort of class as a drag racer of them all. It's an info runner and it gathers information and then just gets the intel from A to B as quick as possible. Gathering is the sort of more in-depth part of the gameplay, but then you'll need to get out and jump as quick as possible before you get seen. So you pop in, gather the info, and then jump to transfer it to its destination. The Buccaneer is a dedicated fighter sort of interceptor support for the Drake family. It's got no cargo, although think more like smuggling. There'll be smuggling compartments, which is coming as soon as the mechanic is ready. The intention is not to be a one-man pirate force, it's to work in tandem with others. So if you have 3 to 5 players, you should have a great experience with a Buccaneer and a Cutlass, potentially doing what I just mentioned before. You would use the Buccaneer to distract while the Cutlass will tear holes in their ship and then you can get all the loot. So the loadout for the Buccaneer is 2 fixed 1 weapons, size 3 gimbal with a size 2 weapon on, a twin link size 2 gun with a size 4 mount underneath, lots of options like the size 4 Revenant you can put on. The underbelly mount can actually fire behind you as well. It has a horizontal 360 arc rather than looking up and down. Lots of balance to come, but this is good because you can actually attack people who are trailing you trying to capture you rather than just launching countermeasures. Other attachments for the size 4 could be an interdiction weapon, which is being sort of hashed out now. The Buccaneer will be the Drake ship to do this interdiction with, and using the Buccaneer to stop people from jumping will be a unique bit of gameplay, I reckon. So maneuverability wise, they want it to be very agile. They're still finding the right place for all the maneuvering thrusters, as obviously you know they do these physically correct, so if they put a thruster in the wrong place it'll fly quite loony. It will have great handling, but it won't be as fast as the Herald. In a straight line, it will have a good speed, but again, not as fast as the Herald, but the pitch and roll is where the strongest movement axes are. It'll also be able to strafe well. The Drake ships are not just for pirates, though. The Buccaneer is a great ship as a defensive ship, and you could have like a legit cargo Caterpillar operation with using a Buccaneer as a good choice to work together and work as a team. More specs will follow, but I really like the Drake ships, and not being a pirate, I'm annoyed that they've got this sort of stigma as a pirate ship, but I do like the fact that they can be used by normal traders, as I would really love a Caterpillar. Anyway, Ben Lesnick sat down with the concept artist Jim Martin, who designed the Buccaneer. He also designed the Scythe and the Cutlass. If you want to watch the interview with him, do check the links below. Most valuable post went to Terralian for his video We Are Citizens. Very, very cool. Worth a watch. And the ATV fast forward is the Reliant in the hangar. So we had a subscriber reverse the verse this week with Matt Sherman, Calix Renault and Matt Intrieri. Just basically taking questions from subscribers. So the first one is, what kind of emergent gameplay can we expect from the Caterpillar or the Karak? And controlling the flow of battle using the consoles to open and close doors or airlocks inside when maybe people try to board you is going to be really interesting. So what happens if someone gets into the front door of the Caterpillar? You can use a console in the command module and close off and lock doors. If they then hack through that door, you can close off and lock the other door, then cut off the gravity or cut off the oxygen. So boarders will have to think about how they are going to attack. They need to be in full EVA kit, otherwise it could go terribly wrong for them. That sounds very exciting. Anyway, the next question was about the new shield system with the shield generators, and they say the multi-source shield work is coming along really well. There's going to be some cool stuff coming to make the gameplay really involving. Power management will be a big thing, prioritizing shields, and making split-second decisions will be far more important than it used to be. Plus, choosing your loadout as well. They're no longer going to use the blob shield as we see at the moment. They are changing it for a form-fitted shield, which sort of creates the shape of your ship. That should be coming within the next month. I do like the sound of this. After that, it was about sort of ship burning effects, and they say they want to have it like the Titanic style, with bits breaking off and just burning away. They are beginning to implement fire, for example, shutting off oxygen to put out a fire. It still needs to be built, but they've seen some really decent videos of it, or work in progress of it, so that is coming along well. After that is about the Reliant Mako and how it will work. Now, the Reliant Mako is your news reporter's ship, which has all the features where you can report the news or record the news and then put it out to the verse. They say they are still figuring out a lot of stuff for it. It's there to help streamers and other content creators, and it will be more of a layered on system rather than something fully scoped out that we may expect initially. The co-pilot will be looking through a camera with no HUD. It also has info running aspects where you can sort of track people and movements. Very cool, and something that made me think was maybe a sort of Attenborough style, fly down to a planet and just report the new species that you find on this planet, or if there's some really weird looking animals, capture footage of them, talk about how they live, and I think there's a lot you can do with the Mako. Very, very cool. So after that, will pursuit kills take velocity into consideration, and also will explosions be relative to the loadout of the ship? Now, what they mean by pursuit kills is when you destroy a ship, currently the ship will, if you're flying, the ship will just suddenly stop, or the debris will stay where it is and you'll fly through it, whereas in reality it should continue on its same velocity that it had when it exploded. And they say currently debris has an issue at the moment. There is no physics in the current build for debris, so it does just literally stop in place when it's destroyed and you fly through it. It shouldn't damage your ship, but it needs to look more in depth. They will be upgrading it with item 2.0, and then they will review the effects to allow this. 2.0 is a massive thing that's coming. It affects a lot of things. Also, it will allow for components to be a part of the explosions, so when something explodes there will be components dotted around. Also, you will have time to repair during the critical level of a ship. But if you're overclocking everything, then your ship will wear down quicker and stand more of a chance of exploding, especially if an overclock component, which is on full power, gets a direct hit, then, you may see a bit of damage there. So next one is, why can big ships be pushed around so easily by little ships? And they say there's just lots of work still to come. It's still work in progress. Do keep that in mind. They do want the most realistic physics, but again, they are waiting on 2.0 before they address this further. So the question after that is, what are the plans for optimizing? They say they have just finished a full pass on all of the ship's low-level details, which is the difference you see them at certain ranges. Currently it's switching too fast, so it looks a bit odd. Also, material ID reductions is ongoing. The big thing, as I keep mentioning, is they need item 2.0, which will separate the interior from the exterior and allow them to do more reduces of, I suppose, draw calls or whatever it's called. They are constantly making improvements. It's not ever just a one-shot solution to fix everything. And while they are still adding content and game mechanics, they can't really optimize it fully. So, will all large ships be made with FPS in mind? And they say with the potential of FPS everywhere, they need to develop it with it in mind, but FPS is more of a consideration rather than a driving force when designing ships, but it needs to be able to flow well inside, otherwise it's just going to be a complete shambles. So after that it says, can you stack cargo along the centre walkway of the Caterpillar module rather than just have it as a clear pathway to get through? And they say yes, you can, as you still have the catwalk to go between modules. So that's good, you can actually fill up the full Caterpillar module with cargo. Next question is to do with the tractor beam and, what's going on with that, how well is it coming along? They say it's still in flux at the moment. They're playing around with a couple of options to see how it feels, how it works. Cargo design will be using like cargo jacks, which are like pallets that you can stack all things on, rather than moving something one at a time. I do still hope you can move things one at a time, especially with maybe the Reliant or your smaller ship like the Aurora. I'd like to be able to pick things up and put them in specifically one at a time, but obviously when it comes to bigger ships like the Caterpillar or even bigger than that with huge cargo holds, then yes, you will need to be sped up a bit. So question 11 is, will ship disablement be more likely than ship destruction? And they explain that if you're able to make intentional decisions about what you're targeting, then yes, you need to avoid spots which will likely cause the ship to explode. For example, the power plant. Skilled players will be able to take a ship intact, but also some components may work, whereas the ship may still be disabled for good, so you can salvage ship components rather than always having to just, win a ship hull every time you defeat someone. But again, it's all dependent on what you target, which I love this idea of being able to just take a ship, kill its power plant, so yeah, maybe you've lost the ship as a ship in itself, but you can still go on board, take out all the components, the coolers, the shield generators, everything else that you can salvage to sell on or even apply to your own ships. So in depth, it's amazing. So next question, will item ports get labels? And they say yes, we are just seeing the earliest implementation of this system. It is going to expand fully. How big is the Caterpillar now? Obviously, whenever they start designing these ships and putting them in the CryEngine or whatever, it increases the size because they need more room. They say currently it's around 107 meters. It's about 110 sort of roughly, but it's also getting slightly thicker. Next question is to do with Drake and its ease of repair or its durability. Now they say on large ships, you won't have to run around the whole ship to reach certain things. For example, everything propulsion in the Caterpillar will be in the engine room. So if you need to do anything to the engine of the Caterpillar, it's going to be in the engine room. You're not going to have to run to the other end of the ship Small ships though will have about 80 to 90% of its components under one hood, rather than having 5 or 6 different panels which all need to be accessed. Drake actually has most things exposed, whereas the more posher ships will have them in compartments to obviously keep the style going and make it needs to look new and so forth. But also posh ships may have more of a higher performance but weaker components, whereas rougher ships like the Drake ships may have less high performance but much tougher components, so it's kind of like a trade-off. And it makes sense, it's just like you see these days with all these old sort of cars that just keep going. They have tough components but they look hideous. They say it will be fun gameplay to swap out fuses, subcomponents, etc. to make things work again. It's going to be a lot easier, or that's going to be the easiest for a field repair rather than doing a complete repair of a component. You can just swap things out and get it going for a little while until you get it back to a place where you can fully repair it. So second to last question, when new components are in, will this affect the time to kill, or how long it takes to destroy a ship? They say more strategy will be involved when components are all in, which will require a lot of gameplay and thinking and properly organising your team. Expect the time to kill to grow. Currently there is no point to have the time to kill accurate to what it will be in the verse, because there's no gameplay to support it after it's happened, and you just go around doing the same thing over and over again. In multi-crew ships you will have time to repair them, plus the ship health will be changing as well. It's not just going to be a set of health amount that will deplete. It's more by mass, and if you start losing your ship parts, then you'll start losing more health and so on. There's so much to it, it's going to be very dynamic. So final question, what will the rollout for the new component system be like? They say the first big one is the shield generators, plus power plants and coolers, as they all work together and also have the most impact on ship performance. Very, very cool. I do love these reverse the verses with these designer and artist people. They're so in depth to what gameplay might be coming down the line. Let me know your thoughts. Let's move on. So also this week we had a new op.net post titled Personal Security, which I am still to read. Plus there was a work in progress post showing off the development of the Starfarer. There will be no Star Citizen Sunday next week, as I will be at Rock am Ring in Germany, so I will gather all the information up from the week missed and bring it to you once I'm back. Don't forget to follow me on Twitch, SuperMacBrothers Ryan. For every 50 followers we get up to 2,000, I will be giving away a $10 gift card. It's a lot of fun getting to talk to you all. We have our own private Discord. Do come along and say hello. So that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for watching, and thank you to our subscribers, plus a massive thank you to our patrons as you make this possible. If you like what we do and want to help us make it better, follow the link in the description to our Patreon page to learn more.